Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Coffee and Football, presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. I'm your host, Blake Monroe, where I'm joined each and every morning by Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton. Tell us where you're checking in from, what you're drinking, get your questions in. We got a lot to talk about, especially a lot of good recruiting news, guys. But first, I want to key y'all in on what the Aggies are thinking about this morning, and I don't think it's Auburn.
I don't think it's an issue. I think when you're in the situation we're in, it's easy to focus on the task at hand. I think, those big games earlier in the year, maybe you look ahead. If we didn't have that stake, what's at stake, maybe you would worry about it. I think our focus is single-handedly on Texas. On Auburn right now and locked in on what we got to get done.
I don't know that wasn't the best audio, but hopefully everybody understood what Mike Elko, the Texas A&M head coach there, it's not necessarily a Freudian slip, but it came out certainly that way, saying that they are focused on the task at hand. Texas, Auburn.
Yeah,
definitely one of those. I will say this. Maybe he's looking as far ahead as Blake Monroe, who's in a Christmas wonderland before Thanksgiving right now. That's not 2 weeks ahead. That's like 6.
That's the reason we were 5 minutes late this morning. Blake was putting the star on top of a tree, and he needed a ladder. But look, but now it's funny. Even though it was a Freudian slip, it's exactly what his fan base wanted to hear.
Yeah.
There's no doubt in year one. I'm just telling you, think of everything that could be done for that game. It's going to be attempted. So what he said was what his fan base wanted to hear, even though he didn't mean it.
We think. You never know these days. Look, Jerry, we mentioned at the outset that recruiting news, fast and furious. You wrote another article. You were up late last night. I was talking to you at 11 o'clock last night on the phone about some stuff that we had heard. A couple of news breaking pieces from yesterday. Michael Fasusi still expected to come in. Cade Phillips, now the defensive back out of Fort Bend area, who has long been committed to LSU after previously committing to Texas, currently ranked a 5-star, by the way, by some services. You talked to him yesterday, and he's visiting Texas now this weekend. Steve Sarkisian keeps I wrote a little piece this morning. He has a little feel for this recruiting game a little bit, Jerry. What did you learn there on Cade Phillips and everything else that's going on today?
Yeah, I think, look, Cade Phillips is I think that's a product of some antics by LSU's coach.
Oh, really? So you think that Brian Kelly's, crap on the sidelines that he pulls routinely has rubbed some people the wrong way?
That's what I think. I'm not saying I'm 100% spot on, but that's what I think, knowing a little bit here. But the big news is that Cade Phillips and parents and family are going to be in. Here's some senior tape of Cade, are going to be in town Saturday for the Kentucky game. And look, this late in the cycle, I threw it out there. And nothing's ever guaranteed, right, in recruiting. That's the one thing we know. It hit all your questions. We'll try to get to all the recruiting questions. Just throw those out to us, and we'll get to them throughout the next hour or so. But, look, I put it at 70, 75%. He ends up at Texas. This is a kid that was committed to Texas. It rarely happens where you're a school you're committed to, you decommit from and end up coming back to. This is one of those scenarios where, man, you're scheduling this visit for November 23rd, 11 days before signing day, which will be what the 23rd is, to a school you're previously committed to. That's, if you're a Texas fan, you should say that's really good news.
Hey, Jerry, you see him here playing some corner, some safety. Did Texas also change its recruiting approach and recruit him more as a corner now? Is that what I understand?
Yeah, I think he's going to get a shot at corner. Look, I think the one thing Jahdae Barron showed Texas staff this year is, you know what? Maybe they can play corner, right? Because Jahdae went out and proved it. So I think with Cade Phillips, look, he would get a shot at corner to start. He plays everywhere for Hightower. They have to play him everywhere, right? And but I think he'll get a good shot at corner and see kind of how the chips fall if he ends up committing to Texas. And look, you couldn't, if Cade Phillips ends up coming into this class. I mean, it would be hard pressed to really have a better defensive back class if you're Texas. I mean, there's always one guy out there, right? A Devin Sanchez, right? But if I told you on December 4th, you'd at the end of the December 4th day, you'd have Jonah Williams, Zealous Hicks, Cade Phillips, Caleb Chester, and Grayson Littleton. I think everybody would raise their hand. I mean, that is so. And Grayson Littleton, Cade Phillips, I think they start out their careers at corner and see how it all works out. Caleb Chester's a corner for sure. I mean, he could play some nickel though, but they have some versatility in there. But it would round out a really good defensive back class if Cade Phillips made the flip after this weekend.
Tell people a little bit, because we talked a lot about him when he actually committed to Texas the first time. Give people a little sense for how tall he is, how fast he is, some of his track times, that sort of stuff.
Closing in on 6'2", 180, 80-inch wingspan, like super long arms. You're talking like a +4, +5 wingspan at his height, maybe +6, and 10-inch hands. Long, qualified for the state in the 200 meters. Went 24/7 in the long jump twice. I mean, he's one of the elite athletes that is a really good football player in the state of Texas, period. And there's a reason that Texas, LSU, Texas A&M, all those schools have battled for him for so long. And that, if he ends up having the change of heart, his family and everybody has a change of heart, that Texas will welcome him back. That's when somebody's really good.
Yeah, I think that's true. I mean, Sark's not one of those guys that he doesn't play games, really. It's either yes or no, kind of. And if he's there, he's there. Hey, let me ask you this. There was also some concern yesterday that maybe one or two recruits might be peeling away from Texas. The latest on a guy like Myron Charles, the young man out of Port Charlotte, Florida, and what you're hearing there, as well as another Floridian, and that is Jamie French, the wide receiver. Both of those guys, Florida, doing a lot of barking right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, look, so it's time for your favorite saying, gird up your loins. It's to 11 days till signing, 14 days till signing day. But look, I think Texas has had great conversations with Myron Charles and his camp. So Florida's making a push there. And I say this all the time. If these schools didn't make a push, they suck and should be fired. I mean, you have to battle for top prospects in the state, in your own state. No different from Sark going to Conroe, getting Dorian Brew, Riley Pettis on campus. You have going to see Devin Sanchez. You have to. If not, you're not doing your job. So Florida is trying to make the hardest push they can with Myron Charles and Jamie French. I think Texas had really good conversations with Myron Charles and his family in the last couple of days. And look, I've never been on the Jamie French is going to flip the Florida train. It's recruiting. Anything can happen. But let's see where Jamie French shows up this weekend, if he shows up anywhere.
Good stuff, guys. All right, before we move on, Bobby, why don't you let everyone out there know about Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm?
Yeah, every Wednesday morning's Coffee and Football brought to you by our friend Adam Lowy over at the Lowy Law Firm. If you've been injured in a wreck of any kind and want someone that has 20-plus years experience and focuses on getting the best deals for their clients, make sure you give Adam and his group a ring. LowyLawFirm.com. The thing about Adam is they give you a free consultation, no strings attached. Again, LowyLawFirm.com. Thanks again, Adam, for your sponsorship of every Wednesday morning's Coffee and Football.
Okay, guys. Well, the other big news, of course, that came yesterday, the college football playoff rankings that came out yesterday evening. I'm going to show you the top 15 here, and then we'll look at the bracket. But, of course, Oregon, number 1, Ohio State, 2, Texas, 3, Penn State, Indiana, Notre Dame, Alabama, Miami, Ole Miss, Georgia close out your top 10, followed by Tennessee and Boise State at 11 and 12, and then SMU, BYU, and Texas A&M hanging around 13 through 15.
Embrace the hate is back. That's for sure. If you look at the reaction to the playoff rankings, that's the one thing I'd say, Bobby, just to talk, we're hitting on Texas. Then I got some thoughts on the rest of this because I have some issues with this. Having Miami ahead of Ole Miss or Georgia and probably Tennessee's asinine. All right, go ahead, Bobby.
I agree. I mean, Miami's just not that good.
They're not good on defense.
No, they've already, and they've had several close calls. It hasn't just been one close call for them this year, right?
Yeah.
Here's my biggest take, and this is beyond Texas. Look, you think 5 of the top 6 teams in the country are north of the Mason-Dixon line? Do you really think that, given where the majority of NFL players come from?
I do not.
Okay. I'm just going to ask that. I'm not, strip the records away. Okay. That it's just not true. So 4 of the top 5 teams in the country are not from the Big Ten. I got news for you guys. Not sure who is or what is exactly, but that ain't it. I will also add this: the one team I still have issue with here in this of the SEC schools is Tennessee being ranked this high. I just don't think they're that good. I mean, I don't. We went over it yesterday. Texas has played 4 of the same opponents as Tennessee and decidedly beat them in a different fashion than Tennessee did. Okay? I mean, Tennessee is a okay team. They played Georgia and Alabama. They beat Alabama at home. They lost to Georgia. Tennessee does not have a good offense. So I would, of all these teams in here in the SEC, which is really what I care about, Jerry, that's the one that I just don't see. Miami, look, they're just holding the spot for one of the ACC teams, in my opinion. That's all this playoff committee is doing. By putting SMU at 13, Miami at 8, and Clemson's not even in there, they're holding one spot for the ACC. That's where that's going. There's not going to be 2 ACC teams going to the college football playoff. Not this year.
And again, what did Alabama do to jump Miami? My problem with that is they did nothing, but they did smoke LSU. But look, and Miami was off. But my problem with Miami is, and look, the games matter. The games have to be played. But does anybody think Miami would stop Alabama, Ole Miss, or Georgia enough on defense, and probably maybe even Tennessee to actually win those games? I don't, because just look at them defensively. I just don't think for the SEC has not changed at all. And that is, if Notre Dame loses to USC, they're going to beat Army this week. If they lose to USC at USC, then I do think 5, in the event that we end up with 5 10-2 SEC teams, all 5 get in. It's that Notre Dame up there, because they don't have any margin for error. Most teams with 1 loss have margin for error. Notre Dame has 0 margin for error because their loss is at home to Northern Illinois. And it doesn't matter if it was a fluke game, they just didn't show up that day, they still have the loss. So their margin for error, normally a team can go 10-2 and still has a chance to get in. If Notre Dame goes 10-2, they're not getting in. If they lose to USC, they're not getting in, because that'd give them 2 bad losses this year, essentially. So they'd be out. So if that's the thing for all SEC fans, if you're not, even if you're not a Texas fan, you tune into this, cheer for Notre Dame to lose to USC, and then the SEC talk goes away, and then you get 5 in. And if you can get 5 in, that would be huge of year one. All right, Roger G has a question. What's Texas' path to the number 1 class? We're going to get to that in a minute, but right now, it's Bobby. We got to bring him in. I know he's got some good thoughts on the playoffs and the Texas-Arkansas game and workouts at 8 a.m. It's Hump Day with Hills.
How you doing? How you doing, Tony?
Hey, man, can y'all hear me, man? Am I loud and clear?
You're loud and clear, buddy. Hey.
Well, look, let's clearly get an understanding that Texas is 9-1, man. Great job by the Longhorns, man. Let's get it. I'm hyped.
Hey, Tony, I got to ask you, what did you think of that win on Saturday against the Razorbacks? And Texas right now headed towards a game with Kentucky. Both of these underranked, kind of lesser SEC schools, some similarities there. But what are your thoughts on the Longhorns and what happened this past weekend and what they got going forward?
Yeah, man. Listen, thoughts on them, man. Gutsy performance. I know we always want to nitpick everything that's going on, but at the end of the day, man, unless you've played in an environment like that and you truly understand what's going on, all the high pressure, the opportunity that Arkansas had, they were right in that game, and for Texas to come through and close it out, man, phenomenal job. I can tell you right now, if people have not awaken to the fact that Texas is the number one defense in the country, I don't know what they're sleeping on, man. These guys are phenomenal. And quite frankly, if we want to get to where we want to get to, we're going to have to ride their coattail offensively to do that. As it pertains to moving forward, man, listen, you got Kentucky, you got A&M. Both of those are going to be hard-fought games. There's a lot of similarities between these last three teams. And to be quite frank with you guys, I like it. I like the fact that we're seeing these type of gutsy, we don't have anything to lose type of teams that we have to play, because we're going to get all types of looks. And when you're going into a potential college playoff, best believe nobody's holding back, right? So all the looks that Arkansas gave us, man, was phenomenal, man. I saw some spinners, I saw cross dogs, I saw safety blitzes, I saw defensive linemen dropping from the weak side. I saw all types of stuff, and Texas was able to fight it off, pick it up, and make some good plays. Are there things that need to be shored up? Absolutely. But I can tell you what, I'd rather be on this side of it than the opposite side. So a win's a win, man.
Hey, Tony, we always ask you about offensive line, but I want to ask you about a guy across from the offensive line, Alfred Collins. You're a decade-long player in the NFL. What do you see from Alfred that you like?
His motor never stops. Plays with a lot of energy. Plays with a lot of passion. Makes timely plays. If I'm a scout, that's what I'm looking at. Makes timely plays. Holds the anchor, right? You're not going to move this guy off the ball. Man, the guy's an absolute beast. And to be honest, I think he is the epitome of what that defense represents. Toughness, tenacity, strength, right? A will to win. So I like everything that I see about this kid, man. And he doesn't have to come off the field. Obviously, I mean, look, the guy broke through the right side of the whole line and got a sack on a 3-down rush. If that don't tell you something about this individual, and people that don't understand about pass rush, Jerry, man, look, it's about want to. As much as it's about skill, it's about want to. It's about my will versus your will, and I choose that my will wins every single time. And that's what I see from this kid, man. I like him.
Tony, you look at that offensive line. You mentioned the different kinds of looks they got. Texas had some issues picking up that, or maybe Quinn ran into some trouble a little bit and didn't step up in the pocket in the first half. But it seemed like in the second half, Texas got that blitz or whatever Arkansas was doing and kind of had it figured out, at least. I mean, they scored on 2 of the 4 possessions, and the other one they were still driving. So what did they do? Did you see anything they did to actually pick it up differently from Arkansas?
Absolutely. Yeah, they went slide protection. So what happens is that if you have guys that want to get exotic and want to, ID, so we call them jacks and spinners, right? So they're basically, you have 3 down linemen, and then you have the linebackers, and then one of the linebackers you identify as a down lineman, and another linebacker you identify as the Mike linebacker. And so those are usually the Mike or the Will, depending on the protection. So those are usually who the 5 have, right? The 4 down Mike or Will, right? Depending on if it's an empty set, now you have gap coverage. So for those guys, what I saw is they went from a man protection more to a slide protection. So instead of having to worry about who my man is, I'm covering a zone, I'm covering the area. So when you started seeing that, what happened is they started stoning the blitzes in the mouth, which was giving Quinn enough time to be able to get those passes off. So that was a great adjustment by Coach Flood, man. He saw what was happening. He saw that they were trying to create confusion. So he just had everybody sliding to one side or another. And then when they did go with sort of a Mike sort, meaning a 4 down Mike and whoever is on the outside of the tackles when they're bringing blitzes, when they went to that type of protection, what you saw is the offensive linemen started taking more vertical sets to allow the twist stunts, the TTs, the ETs, all of those, the TEs, all of those particular stunts. You started allowing those guys to get into their pass rush. Listen, if you're a defensive lineman and you're going sideways, you don't scare me. All you got to do as an offensive line is just step back and let them fall into your lap, man. So they did a perfect job picking that up, man. They picked up. Shout out to the Arkansas defensive coordinator. He sent a lot of blitzes and a lot of stunts at these guys, and they was busting it in the mouth all day.
All right, Tony, the Texas Longhorns now have Kentucky coming up.
Yeah.
Kentucky they're Ole Miss and lost for the entire SEC this year. They've won one conference game, right? And so the question I have for you here is, how do you get yourself up for a game like this when 2 weeks from now you got the Aggies? You played against A&M back in the day. You were there when this rivalry was a thing. What is your, how do you keep focused on the task at hand? I guess. I mean, Mike Elko can't even do that at A&M.
Yeah, that guy's getting ready to be a walking meme. Listen, so, man, Bobby, you're not overlooking any team at this point of the season, man. You have Kentucky has all of your attention. We're not looking for it because at the end of the day, we have to handle the opponent that is in front of us now, right? And so with what Texas wants to do as it pertains to being national champions, you have to respect every opponent. Like, look, that was a hard-fought game that they had in Arkansas, right? And I'm pretty sure everybody looks at it and what happens is this. People see the word Texas and they just assume you're supposed to blow all of these teams out of the water because you're looking at record. But you got to look at the game. Like these next two teams that we're playing are good caliber teams. Have they had the ball not go their way a couple of times? Absolutely. Right. You can see another league where you look at a team like Kansas that's been in that same situation where they've lost, 3-point, 2-point, 7-point games. Right. We're looking at them in the Big 12. So for Texas, I believe they're locked in, especially defensively. I believe that the defense is actually going on a historical run. This is the best defense that I've seen from Texas. And that's even, I would even say, and I know my guys are not going to like this, but if you pull up statistically, they're probably better than even we were during the national championship year. And that's saying a lot. But I don't think they're overlooking these guys, Bob, because quite frankly, they can't afford to, right? They can't drop any more games. It's just that we've dropped the game. We see what's happening. We're where we are. There's no more room for error. So I believe that the focus is there. I do think this, though. I think that now is the time that we really start, executing offensively on a higher level. I do want to see that. Like when I looked at the Arkansas game, I'm looking at the swing, right? So we have a 10-point swing. Arkansas scored 10 points. Texas is up 13-10. We come back, we put the game away. That's great. That's complimentary football. But when you go into the first half and we got, a 40-yard swing pass scamper and we're at the 15-yard line, it's 3rd and 7. Like, Quinn, you got to put the ball on this 6'5" tight end. Don't have him, it's kind of like a basketball player, man, when you're throwing rebounds or when you're throwing a lob, instead of throwing a lob pass, you throw it to his ankles. Man, put the ball on him, let him get the first down, and we're up 27-10. Everybody walks home. We don't make it. This is what we have to execute when we see Kentucky. When we're up, put them away, period. Don't play with them.
Hey, last thing, Tony, for me, senior day. You went through it. What are the emotions like as a Texas player walking out the last time at home?
Man, listen, Jerry, that's a wonderful question. You think about the first day you step on campus. You think about all of the work that you've put in when you've been there. You think about all of the people, at least me. I thought about all of the people that helped me get to where I was. I didn't do anything by myself, man. I had a lot of help. For me, I kind of laughed and chuckled a little bit because I was thinking about study hall and all the times I had all of my teacher aides, pulling their hair out because I sometimes wasn't always focused in that space, but they helped guide me through it. And you think about what Texas means to you, right? And for me, man, when you go out there, you want to lay it all on the line because this, unlike the NFL, right, where the NFL stands for not for long. I get that. But when you're at a university, man, you can be on a different NFL team. Trust me, I know about that. Right. But at the end of the day, you're always going to be a Longhorn. Right. Here we are, decades gone where I was playing, and I'm always a Longhorn, no matter what, to the day that I leave this earth, man. And so it's just special. And for all of those seniors that are getting ready to take the field, for the last time, man, embrace it. enjoy it, harness that emotion, and when it's time to let it go, let it go. Don't hold anything back. For what?
Yeah, I love that, Tony, because you're right. I mean, it's the old saying, college is not a 4-year decision; it's a 40-year decision.
Absolutely.
And I think that means more. And the other thing that I would say to people that's about college compared to the NFL, you get to choose where you go to school.
Yeah.
You don't get to choose if they tell you you're going to Buffalo, it's Buffalo, baby. NFL.
Yeah, there's no autonomy in your choice, Bobby. Absolutely.
Yeah, I ain't choosing Buffalo. No offense if anybody lives there, but that ain't going to be the one for me, and especially not in winter. Tony, thank you so much, buddy. We'll talk to you again next week, day before Thanksgiving, the week of the Longhorns versus the Aggies. Dude, I want to ask you one last thing. How exciting is a night game in College Station on your radar? That for me has got me excited like nobody's business. That's going to be huge, dude.
Listen. When we get to that game, I just want Texas to be the bully on the block and embrace being the bad guy. I need Bane from Batman energy that game. Like, destroy everything, right? Anything moving, destroy it. That game, man, I think that we could liken that to playing LSU at night. You know what I mean? Like, it's that type of environment, man. That they don't like us, we don't like them, and then the last one standing comes out of it. Those are the perfect type of games, man. So we're excited about that. But we get to talk about those games. Right now, I want Texas focused on Kentucky. So tell them not to watch this until after the Kentucky win.
Yeah, we can be fans, but players, you don't get to do that.
Absolutely. And let me say this too, man. We have the greatest fans and the greatest like crowd, Texas Longhorn fans in the world. In the world. There is not a place. When I've traveled to different stadiums professionally, there has not been, and I mean this, literally one place where I didn't see a Longhorn in there. And we're not even playing college ball. We're playing professional ball. We have some of the greatest fans in the world. And for everybody that watches this show, man, we appreciate you guys, man. We could not do this without you. I am so appreciative of being able to have my little segment. Man, listen, my wife don't listen to me, but y'all do. So I appreciate y'all.
Hey, Tony, next week we got to get Christmas. Get your Christmas tree up like Blake. We got to get you in a Christmas tree shot next week.
Man, listen, I tell you what, the best I'll be able to do is stand in the forest. I ain't doing no unnecessary work, man. I got Jerry, I got kids, man. That sounds like work. That don't sound like fun to me. We go to Blake's house. Blake, we coming to your crib, bro.
That'd be hilarious. Let's do it. Oh, by the way, Tony. So Bobby and Blake agreed that if Texas beats A&M, they'll eat a Fletcher's corn dog with mayo live. Can I get that from you too?
Man, listen, I'll go find a Fletcher's corn dog. Is it all beef?
Mayo, though. It has to be with mayonnaise.
Oh Lord. Jesus, you know us melanated brothers. We don't really do the mayonnaise like that. I think. We're going to talk about that. I don't know if I want to commit to that.
I have not committed to it either. Thanks, Tony. You be good, buddy. Have a good week.
All right, guys.
All right, hooking, man. Appreciate you. As always, former Longhorn, Tony Hill's a pleasure to listen to, talk with a little bit. Got a little offensive line intel there, Jerry, that I thought was really, really good as well. Blake, what do you got for us next, buddy?
All right, guys. I know I had to plug my computer up there for a second, so my apologies right before Tony came on. But I want to go back to the playoffs just for a second here. This is what the bracket would look like based on the latest ranking. So Texas would face the winner of Ole Miss, Indiana. Of course, Texas, Miami, Oregon, Boise State is who they're thinking would get the bye. But curious as to y'all's thoughts on that. Would either team be a good matchup for the Longhorns?
I think the best place to be would be to be ranked number 5.
Yeah.
I mean, you're automatically in the semis then. In my opinion.
Yeah, I mean,
whoever is 5 out of the SEC and the Big Ten, whoever gets that little nudge, they're in the Final Four. That's a better, like, for example, wouldn't you rather be Ohio State in this draw
100%
than Oregon? Oregon has to play Alabama or Notre Dame.
Yeah, screw
to get to
being
the
number
semis.
one.
Whereas Ohio State has to play BYU and Boise. I mean, would you rather be 11 or 6 than Oregon?
Yeah.
I would.
100%.
I mean, 100%. Yeah. I mean, I got to tell you that, and we'll see what happens the next 2 games. But the team that's kind of rounding in the form right now is Ole Miss. That's probably not who you want to see in the second round game. That's who you want to see in a semifinal game. The way they're playing now college football is week to week. And I would think Ole Miss would, they'd put a nice little spanking on Indiana if they played them. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Hey, by the way, 7 of the top 10 teams ranked in the college football playoff start a transfer quarterback. FY. 7 of the top
7
10.
of the top 10, including Texas.
Including Texas.
Hey, is this accurate, Blake? You sent this text. Ray Lewis is replacing Tom Herman at Florida.
Very well. That's the big rumor right now that Ray Lewis is the favorite to replace Tom Herman.
There we go.
I mean,
pretty crazy.
Look, that would be, and he lives down in that area, Delray Beach area. When I was ESPN, we used to, Under Armour used to run Ray Lewis RL52 linebacker camp in the summers. And I put together that roster for that camp, and his team won't lack motivation or physicality. I've listened to all the speeches that he gave the kids, and him and Ed Reed on film breakdown with all those linebackers. And I can tell you, those kids would play with passion. I don't know how good a team he'd put together, but that team would not lack passion on a Saturday on a football field.
All right, guys, we got a lot of questions, a lot of super chats, and of course, plenty of time to get your questions in here. But let's start here at the top with this first super chat from Sean. Sean, we appreciate it. He says, Jared Smith to Ole Miss would be a huge blow to Auburn. Jared?
I actually like this. This is fun because this is non-Texas recruiting question, and it does impact SEC. Jared Smith is the edge rusher out of Thompson High in Alabama. Really talented player. Went up against Nick Brooks in an ESPN game. I mean, really talented. 6'6", 245, 6'5", 245. Will be 6'5", 265. Should be an NFL draft pick one day if he stays healthy and does it right. But look, that Auburn has a awesome, not good, awesome defensive line class right now. And Jordan Crawford, the D lineman at Birmingham Parker, I think is an absolute stud. And they have Malik Autry, too, out of Auburn, Alabama. They have some really high-level defensive linemen. That would be a blow to Auburn because you can't replace a kid like that this late in the cycle. And Ole Miss did flip Caleb Cunningham, the wide receiver from Mississippi, from Alabama to Ole Miss, so which was kind of a turnabout's fair play because the running back from Mississippi, Kalen Deere, who Texas absolutely loved, they just couldn't get him, flipped from Ole Miss to Alabama early in the cycle. So those battles go on, but Jared Smith, if he bounced from Auburn to Ole Miss, that would be an irreplaceable one from a high school perspective for Auburn because he is a top 30, 40 top kid in the country. Really talented kid.
That would be the second one they flipped too, by the way. The receiver just flipped from Auburn to Ole Miss too, right, Jerry? So yeah.
There's a lot of jockeying going on. By the way, so I wanted to get to this question.
Ole Miss is a hot team right now, was my point.
No doubt.
Do you agree with that in recruiting?
Oh, yeah. No doubt. They are. And so I wanted to get to this question. Roger G asked, what is Texas' path to a number one class? How many recruits do we think Texas will take this cycle? So I actually posted a story that kind of lays it out on TexasFootball.com. If you're not a member, go over there. But look, the reality is Texas is ranked either 4, 5, or 6 right now in the industry. So let's call them 5. If Texas closes out Michael Terry, they go to 3. They're going to be a solid 3. And so we're in the if game. So just people in the chat, I'm not saying it's 100% happening. Don't go and run the message boards. I'm answering a question. If they close out Michael Terry, who Texas leads for, that would push them to 3. If Cade Phillips were to flip and you went out for Javion Hilson, you're a solid 2 and maybe on the skirt of number 1, depending on who falls where. And I'll get to a couple of the guys that are going to be key in all this later. And the other thing to know is Ohio State and Georgia both have 25 commitments right now. Texas could add more to their class than Georgia could. Ohio State also has to hold on to Naeem Offord, the corner from Birmingham Parker, who Auburn is trying to get, Florida, Oregon. We'll see with that. That one I think is going to get wild down the stretch. But from the Texas perspective, if they got those three guys, if they close out with those three guys, and Hilson won't announce anything till December 4th, and they have to keep, and I'm talking the scenario where they keep who's committed, right? Everybody. So if you're at Terry, Cade Phillips, and Hilson, you're going to be solid number 2 at that point off rankings, with maybe a chance by decimals to be number 1, depending on what happens with some other people. But then you have Joseph and Mbaktu, and you have Kellen Wiley. So those guys might not necessarily affect a couple of rankings, but some of these rankings are how they only take the top 17, 18 top ranked guys in a class. But for those that consider everybody in a class, those are 2 4-star prospects, and Mbaktu, I think, will end up top 150 kid when rankings are all said and done, or right around there. And then it comes down to this: Michael Fasusi, Justice Terry, and Justice Terry has an impact on class rankings because he's a 5-star prospect in Manchester, Georgia, and I think Georgia's the favorite over Auburn, Alabama, Texas. But those are 4 of the top 6 teams in recruiting rankings right now. So Justice Terry's decision is going to impact rankings. If he goes to Georgia and Georgia gets Chase Linton, the top 100 kid out of their own state of Edge kid who's really talented, and a couple other 4-stars, they're going to be right there, right? Because they have a lot of 5s in their state. If Texas were to flip a Fasusi in the end, Texas has a real shot. In that scenario I laid out to finish with the number 1 class. We'll see what happens. I'm not guaranteeing anything. I've said all along, I think Texas will finish in the top 3 with a shot at 2. But now this Cade Phillips thing, because he's ranked top 40 in the country, that changes calculus or your possibilities in class rankings and Fasusi visiting. A couple of things fall Texas' way, and they get 2 or 3 of the guys that they've been trending for. That got a shot at it, man. It's not out of the question. They got a chance.
I'm here for it.
It's all you can ask for.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here for it, Jerry, because they've had top 5 classes. You start having top 2 and 3 classes, that it's just hard. I mean, that's why Georgia is Georgia.
Yeah,
that's why Ohio State is Ohio State. They're freaking hard to beat because they got so many dudes. You know what I mean? And it's not just a wide receiver or a running back. It's a defensive line. It's a linebacker. It's a safety. It's a corner. It's everywhere you look. That's what you want. That's what you want. And I will say this, one thing that Mark Stoops said yesterday, or Monday, I guess it was, about how you look around at Texas and there's not really a quote unquote weak spot right now. I feel that. Now they've done that a lot through the portal, right? I mean, Texas has shored up things in the portal. Receiver this year, defensive tackle this year. It's not necessarily that they're always the key players, but they're shoring things up. So there's different ways to do it. I think Texas can get into this situation where they're looking more and more like Georgia, and then adding the key pieces in the portal. And then all of a sudden you got, maybe you do have a dominant college football team, Jerry, once more. We'll see.
Hey, Jerry, why don't you tell people how they can shore themselves up with the good folks at Manscaped?
It's senior day. It's the last Texas home game. Don't be showing up looking bad. You go order the Chairman Pro Pack, unless you have the 5 o'clock shadow. That does work sometimes for us soft guys that need to look tough and rugged. And this episode is brought to you by Manscaped, the global leader in men's lifestyle and grooming. Every man knows the unbeatable feeling of a fresh barbershop shave. Now, what if I told you that you no longer have to wait weeks or months between appointments to experience it? Introducing Manscaped's latest release, the Chairman Pro Package. The all-in-one set includes everything you know to recreate the luxury of a professional shave right at home. Whether you're after that daily silky smooth finish or prefer a maintained rugged 5 o'clock shadow, the Chairman Pro Package has you covered. Head on over to manscaped.com and join the over 11 million men worldwide and growing. That number keeps going up, it seems like, who trust Manscaped by using code ONTEXAS, all caps, for 20% off plus free shipping. I've said it before, I need the 5 o'clock shadow because I got to look rugged. I'm not rugged.
No.
Skin safe stubble trimmer is what you need for when you want to look rugged, but you aren't rugged. And I'll say this. I'm going to add a different read into this. If for no other reason, take all your Manscaped stuff, the DKR, pull Mark Stoops' hat off and finish giving him the ball. Man, that hair looks bad in the press conferences, dude. If you don't do it for yourself, do it for Mark Stoops' family.
Oh,
That's not looking good in the press conference. That looks like a coach with stress.
oh my goodness. All right. Well, once you get done manscaping, you also need to look good. And you can do that by the good folks at Public Rec. And let's be real, guys, wearing dress pants sucks. And who decided that stiff, uncomfortable jeans squeezing your family jewels was ever a good idea? Well, consider this to be your holiday miracle. Public Rec is here to help you out. They have many different styles and colors to choose from in all their clothing. Whether it's polos, shorts, hoodies, or pants, I guarantee you're going to find something you like, and I guarantee that you're going to like it on you. And they're going to hook y'all up with one heck of a deal this holiday season. OTF listeners get 20% off their entire order with promo code ONTEXAS at publicrec.com. This week, I've worn their waffle knit hoodie. I've worn their Daymaker pants. Needless to say, I love their clothes. It was my first time wearing both. They're super comfortable, super comfortable. They look great. Even my wife was dishing out the compliments. So it's a winner, I'm telling you. Stop stuffing in regular pants and give the gift of comfort this holiday season. Remember, for a limited time only, our listeners get 20% off when you use code ONTEXAS at checkout. That's 20% off with code ONTEXAS at publicrec.com. After you purchase, they're going to ask where you heard about them. Please support the show. Tell them that we sent you. So give yourself or someone you love the gift of comfort this holiday with publicrec.com. All right, more super chats, guys. And Mike Gosnell says it's time to gird your loins.
Yeah.
We're in deep water and we're trying to reel in the big targets. Gotta love it from Sark.
Hey, look, it's a good place to be. I know it can be a little stressful for the recruitniks out there like all of us, but it's a good place to be. I mean, it's where you need to be. It's where you want to be. And again, Florida and Miami, if they don't put up a fight, I mean, think about what Texas has done the last three classes now. Cedric Baxter, top running back in the state, was headed to tremendous things. Hopefully he comes back from his injury good next year. Jarrett Gibson, number one or two ranked back in the state. So back-to-back years, Texas has gone in there and taken the best or top two back in the state. In this class, and there's other guys, right? I mean, you got a five-star quarterback in Diabell committed in 26. You got Myron Charles. You got Jamie French. You at least have a 50-50 shot for Javion Hilson. I mean, these aren't just coming in taking the upside 3 stars out of Florida, Bobby. These are other fan bases are like, oh man, come on now.
Hey, look, Florida can come to Texas and get deep
guys in 3 years.
I love it. But this is the point. This is what we've always said. If Florida or Alabama or Georgia can come into Texas and take some of Texas's best every year, why can't Texas return the favor?
Yep.
Too many Texas coaches have been reticent or reluctant to put the effort in to do that. Well, now turnabout is fair play, is my opinion. You know, that we finally got a coach that's willing to take the fight elsewhere too.
Yes. And by the way, until Florida, everything gets stabilized there, and Miami's still in the ACC, and if you go to one of their games, you're wondering where all the people are at. If you're a recruit, that's a good place to recruit. I mean, the top 3 most talented states for me in the country right now is in whatever order. It changes NFL year to year: Florida, Texas, and Georgia. That's it. I mean, California's got really good players, don't get me wrong, but they don't have as many. They don't have as much depth in that state as they used to. They got really good top-end players. They don't have the depth they used to. Now, Florida, Texas, Georgia, I mean, that is legit football players in those 3 states. And they're all different too, by the way. the Florida kids have so much upside because the setup in that state isn't like Texas, and Georgia's copied Texas to a large extent with facilities, paying high school coaches, the whole setup, athletic periods. They've done a great job taking what Texas has done and using it in their state with a ton of talent. But it's a good place to be. But it's going to be real battles. I mean, it's going to be real battles. Somebody asked about Joseph and Bach too. Here's where NFL players are born. I mean, there you go. I mean, Cali's up there off of the population. But I'm here to tell you right now, high-end guys that all these schools are battling for, Georgia, that number is going to keep going up in the future. And obviously you have Florida, California, Texas. But Georgia, if you just take those top-end guys, Georgia's got as many of them as anybody right now. And there's a reason, if you look at this, Bobby, what makes Alabama and Georgia such good recruiting jobs? I mean, Nick Saban could go east and recruit Atlanta and could go south and recruit Florida, right? And then he could go west as much as he needs to, New Orleans, all those areas. Georgia, the same. So you have to be in that playground, that Southeast region playground. Just look at the states, what Bobby was talking about earlier with the college football playoff rankings. Look at Texas East. Why do you think the SEC wanted Texas so bad? The state of Texas so bad. They have shored up the talent. The most talented region in the country by far is the SEC region.
I want to say this on that graphic. Does it include population movement?
Right.
Where a lot of people have moved to the Deep South and the Georgia area and Houston and Dallas from across the country. So this is where they were born.
Yeah.
Not where they finished high school. If you look at the finished high school numbers, Texas, Florida, and Georgia both jump a little. Just so y'all know.
Somebody asked, why is Ohio State or state of Ohio so rich in football talent? Bobby, I know I don't know if we have the same opinion on this, but man, it's a blue collar physical state.
Friggin' love it.
Yeah.
I've been up there back when I covered high school football, really on a national level back in the 90s and in the early aughts. I went up to Ohio 4 different times. Okay. There is no doubt they love their football just as much as Texans do. And they show up just as ardently for high school football games, by the way, as Texans do. I mean, I went to Paul Brown Stadium, which is actually in Canton, Ohio, or it was not the NFL stadium, the high school one. I mean, they had 30,000 there, and it was a sold out ticket. That is the one state that, when it comes to football, acts more southern than northern. I'll just put it that way. It ain't Illinois. You'd be lucky to hit 25 people in the stands that weren't students. Same in Indiana. You'd be lucky to hit it. I've been to all those states. Michigan, not a great high school football state. Ohio is a great high school football state. They deserve it.
It's based on high school graduation.
So look how much Georgia's jumped from that last list, okay, where guys are graduating high school from. I'm here to tell you, in 5-6 years, I think Georgia will be ahead of California. That's my opinion going down, seeing all these schools. When you go to Grayson High School and you're like, well, they got 5. I don't know who they're going to be, but they got 4 or 5 future NFL guys on that one field. I don't know who they're going to be necessarily. I know Tyler Atkinson should be. I know Nick Brooks and Joseph Mbaktu have a really good shot to be. And then there's some young kids over there. It's like, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen with all these guys yet, but they got a few. I mean, so that's Georgia is going to, in the next 5-6 years, I think they're going to jump ahead of California. And I'm not dissing California. If there's any parents on here, California's got really high-end talented players. They just don't have as many as they used to.
And it's worth noting that chart is a year old. So those numbers also have fluctuated from this past season. All right. Super chat here from Longhorn Frenzy. Thank you, Longhorn Frenzy, as always. We appreciate it and appreciate your work on Twitter. Keeping Missouri in the top 25 by the committee to prop up some SEC school schedule strength is just stupid. all while the media is harping on Texas' schedule.
That's a good point.
Whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the point that I would say. I mean, if you get down to a 10-2 Texas versus a 10-2 Tennessee, if Texas were to lose to A&M, God, I don't want that to happen. But if that were to happen, okay, look at the common opponents between those two teams, please, and tell me who has the better, outcomes. I mean, it's Tennessee's got a good defense, mediocre offense. Texas has much more firepower on offense, better offensive line, better playmakers. Texas, I think, would do well against a matchup in that regard. I think all 4 games that they have played similarly thus far heavily favor the outcome of what Texas has put out there to what they've put out there. This is another weekend to do that. Tennessee played Kentucky, won 28-18, a couple weeks ago. So let's see what Texas does this weekend. I'm not saying that Texas has to beat Kentucky badly or anything like that, but I would compare what Texas has done to Tennessee any day of the week against common opponents. And Texas would be much, much better off. So all these people out there, all these national guys saying that crap, go look, actually.
Hey, Blake, while we
Arkansas beat Tennessee with their backup quarterback.
While we're sitting here chatting away, can you bring up strength of schedule for college football right now, where teams are at?
I sure will. And guys, I'm going to stay on the playoff super chats for a moment. I know we got other ones that came in before these, but while we're on the subject, let's stay there. Menu 2 Sports says nothing guarantees that you avoid a team like Tennessee, Georgia as the 12th seed if you're number 5.
That's true, but I still think the odds are at the end of the day, Boise State or your G5 is going to be your 12. I know where the playoff bracket is right now, but I still think that's what plays out.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to avoid Tennessee. I would take Tennessee on Texas. That's a bad matchup for Tennessee, guys. Bad matchup.
Yep. And then we have another one here from Menu 2 Sports that says, and I'm working on that strength of schedule. I would take having to only win 3 playoff games in a row for a natty over 4. The playoff bye is more important than an easy first round game.
Maybe. And I will say this, the one thing that Jerry and I talked about yesterday is with all these games, you give yourself, if you're playing to get one of the byes, you have to play a conference championship game, by the way.
Yeah.
And so the issue is how many games you play and how many more injuries do you give yourself? I mean, like yesterday in practice, apparently, Ohio State lost its starting center to an Achilles injury. I mean, every time they go out to practice or play is another injury possibility. So I want to play as few games as possible, theoretically. And so that means either being a 5 or a 12 or whatever the number seed is, or being a 2 or 1. And I don't know the answer to that. So that's where I'm at right now.
All right, guys. So this is based on strength of schedule. We can also do it by strength of record. But strength of schedule is how it is sorted right now, with Georgia, Florida, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, and LSU being your top 5.
Yeah. So where's Texas in the 30s on that?
38, I thought.
They're way down the list. It's not numbered, of course.
38. 38. Okay. Look at the Warhawks. Go Warhawks. Quality win. All right. So there you go. That is what everybody's talking about with Texas. 38 strength of schedule. Now, that strength of schedule, because look at where Kentucky's strength of schedule's at. That your Texas strength of schedule will go up from here, even if Kentucky's a 4-8 team or 5-7 team. It's going to go up. Then you have A&M, all road games. So the Texas strength of schedule is going to end up fine. Now, you need to win the game against A&M so you don't have to sweat it out. But Texas strength of schedule is going to end up fine because your years go up. So a couple of them will drop down. But again, we said it before the season, guys. This is the toughest schedule Georgia's played. I mean, that is a brutal road schedule. So they need to get credit for that. That's why I think it's a joke. Hey, by the way, where was Miami on that?
Miami.
While you're talking about that, Jerry, I want to say this. My point about Tennessee, I mentioned the Arkansas versus Tennessee game where Arkansas beat them with their backup quarterback. Okay. Alabama or Tennessee also had to go to overtime to beat Florida at home. Yep. Texas beat Florida 49-17.
Yeah.
Y'all talk about strength of schedule. Give me a break. That, and if Feinbaum, not necessarily calling anybody out, if those guys are going to perpetuate that myth, look at common opponents and tell me who dispensed with who. It's there. I think they're trying to find a narrative that fits their preconceived notion of Texas coming in the SEC. That's my opinion. And you hear most of the people doing it are the ones from Georgia, Alabama, Florida, Tennessee, Mississippi. That's where they're from. Louisiana.
No.
Because they just don't want to give Texas the respect because Texas beat Florida 49-17. Texas beat Arkansas 20-10 when Tennessee went and lost to the backup quarterback. Whatever. And by the way, Arkansas was healthier against Texas than they were against Tennessee.
And by the way,
quarterback.
Talking Texas is good for ratings too.
Yes, that's true.
All right, guys, more super chats to get to. But first, Bobby, before we do that, I'm going to let you tell folks out there about one of the newest sponsors we have here on Texas Football, D&G Construction.
Yeah, absolutely. D&G Construction. Texas fans in the Austin and San Antonio area, are you dreaming of transforming your outdoor spaces? Look no further than DG Construction, San Antonio's premier hardscape and exterior living space contractor. Also now in Austin, celebrating 10 amazing years of delivering top-notch craftsmanship. The guys at DG Construction are experts at creating stunning driveways, patios, walkways, beautiful lawn improvements in either concrete or vivid pavers that match and enhance the curb appeal of your home's exterior. Whether you're in San Antonio, Austin, Kerrville, or anywhere in the Hill Country, their dedicated team brings your residential and commercial visions to life. From luxurious artificial turf to sturdy house slabs and even foundation repairs, DG Construction is who you need to call. They're just a call away. Reach out to Mark Valdez. Mark is one of the guys that joins us here on Coffee and Football every so often as a chat member. They're dedicated design consultant and a longtime subscriber of On Texas Football. For a free consultation, 210-400-5643. If you're looking to get something done to your house, give them a call, 210-400-5643. Don't wait to make your outdoor dreams a reality. Give DG Construction a call or visit them online at dgsatx.com. That's dgsatx.com. Hook them for the folks at DG Construction, where outdoor dreams meet exceptional design. Thanks, Mark, for your sponsorship, and the folks at DG Construction for their sponsorship of On Texas Football.
I'm going to have to hide that ad from my wife because
well, we can see what she does to the inside of your house.
Yes. We'll be having him over here working on the outside.
She'll have all the elves out for you, Blake Monroe.
100%.
She put up the trees, you're putting up the back porch.
Yes.
It seems like you lost that battle.
I did. I gave into it years ago, and what can you do? All right, Jay Lee, we appreciate your super chat. He says Quinn Ewers has never had 3 to 5 really good games in a row. Over the next 2 to 5 games, Quinn is going to have a few bad, average, and really good games. Will the order of what kind of games he has determine our season?
Yes.
Especially in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Got to play well in College Station against that defensive front. Got to. But yeah, I mean,
unless the Texas defense comes out and it's just a 13-10 game, Jerry.
Yeah, but then everybody will still be biting all their nails off.
Well, me included. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But look, I think Kentucky, does Quinn have to go out and do something crazy and throw for 305 touchdowns? I don't think so, because Kentucky struggles offensively as well as Texas is playing defensively. It'd be a complete Like, it'd be a collapse that we'd be talking about on here for a long time if Kentucky went out and did something crazy and scored 30 points against Texas, right? They just haven't done it this year. So Quinn doesn't have to bring an A game Saturday. But by the way, it's senior day, and I'm sure it's his last home game at Texas, and I'm sure he'd love to go out with a really good game in front of the home crowd. And I think, by the way, somebody said in the chat, he deserves a massive, no matter if he struggled some this year or not, big round of applause. He helped get Texas back here.
No doubt.
I mean, he helped get Texas. That decision to come back here from Ohio State, it started to change the trajectory of the program. Coming in with that same class as the offensive lineman, he needs a big, long applause because he was part of the rebuild here.
No, dude, anybody that doesn't appreciate Quinn Ewers they don't get it. Is he perfect as a quarterback? No. Is he our quarterback? Yes. And did he do something that look, and I want to go back. I'll go back to Jay Lee. I don't want to get on that diatribe because I think I could speak for that for a long period of time on a guy like Quinn that's given what he's got to the University of Texas. I will say this. I thought he had 4 pretty good games in a row last year to end the season. So Jay Lee was asking, can he have 3 to 5 good games in a row? They finished last year with Texas at Iowa State. Quinn Ewers had a good game, in my opinion. Texas Tech at Texas. Quinn Ewers had a great game in that one. Oklahoma State in the Big 12 championship. Great game for Quinn. Texas played Washington in the Sugar Bowl. I certainly don't think that was a stinker from Quinn. I think other issues arose there. So he's done this before. And I'm going to say this. I also think that Quinn, I hope, feels some momentum from how he finished the fourth quarter. That was I know he only completed 3 passes. Okay. But how he completed them and what he did, meaningful. It was winning football. And ultimately, that's all we care about. And that's how every quarterback should be judged. Does he play winning football? Quinn Ewers on Saturday in the fourth quarter, when it mattered, played winning football. That's the issue.
Now, and I agree. And there are certain games that are kind of legacy games for players. It's setting up that A&M is gonna need to be one for him now, because unless A&M stubs their toe, unless Texas really stubs their toe Saturday, it's a winner take all game in College Station. That's a legacy game opportunity for a quarterback.
Yeah. All right, Jack with the super chat. He says, "Leave Blake alone. Jesus and Santa came through for Colt." Yes, definitely. Appreciate that, Jack. Colt's sleeping in the other room right now. I hear his TV being loud as can be. And then Jerry's Jack Link says, "One thing I think they may be overlooking about the A&M game is the pressure that is on A&M. You know, Elko is getting a ton of pressure to win this game. Obviously, we do too, but I think that they have more."
That may be true to some degree. I mean, look at what Elko did yesterday in that press conference. I mean, literally, we played at the start of this. I mean, he said, you know, we've got our eyes on the right game right now, and then said Texas instead of Auburn. I mean, it's clearly top of mind for them, and it should be. I mean, I'm surprised some Texas player hasn't made a mistake at this point. Texas players typically smarter than A&M players and coaches, but that's a different story.
You leave Leon O'Neal out of this.
Leon O'Neal. Is he going into the stands lately and trying to fight players in the Arena League still, or fight 17-year-olds in the Arena League?
That guy talks a lot of trash on Twitter for a player that's been cut from every league except the Cy-Fair Youth Football Organization at this point. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, man. Well, much like O'Neal, I'm a little slow on this one because I should have brought this up a second ago. But Sugar Poppy, formerly Sugar Daddy, says, "How much of Quinn's legacy rides on this A&M game?"
Quite a bit, probably. I think that's fair. I think that I think it rides on the legacy of a lot of people, though. I mean, I really do. Like this comeback season or this resurgence of the whole program will be somewhat muted by a loss at A&M. So I don't think it's just for Tech. I mean, look, we've talked about Texas 21-3 over the last 2 years right now. Unbelievable run for Texas, in my opinion. If you would have told me this 4 years ago when Sark was hired, I'd said fat chance. Maybe they have one run in 4 years. It just takes too much work. And you have to catch fire just at the right time to get this kind of stuff. Right? So, but to make it into that next level or that next echelon, which is what Texas is really trying to be, one of the preeminent programs each and every year, a top 4 program every year, they have to win at A&M. And so I don't think it's just a Quinn legacy thing, Sugar Daddy there. I think it's a whole program type defining moment. They win that 2 years in a row in college football playoffs. Nobody else is going to be that. No, there won't be another team out there. Well, Alabama will, I guess.
Yeah.
But no Michigan, no Washington, just Texas and Alabama. That's pretty good company.
Yeah. All right, our next super chat comes from Kyle, and he says, if A&M loses to Auburn but beats Texas, do they go to the SEC championship?
I don't think so on tiebreakers in that scenario. I don't think so. But then you're getting into that would cause all sorts of chaos, though. Then you're getting into that situation where you're going to have 6 2-loss teams in the SEC, and then it gets into I don't know. You'd have to. I haven't read the tiebreakers that far. I'm not sure I'd understand them if I could.
I will just go back and tell y'all, if you want to know answers to questions like that and want to go out and do all of those calculations, use and Google something called the MRED calculator. MRED SEC calculator. And they have all of the permutations right now. I mean, frankly, it might depend if Missouri wins a game here or South Carolina or whoever. There's no direct path to say if this. There are only a couple things we can say directly, I guess, is my point.
Blake Bryant saying it would be Georgia, Bama. He's probably done the research on this. I mean, Georgia, in that scenario, Georgia, Bama in Mercedes-Benz Stadium seems like a yearly thing.
Georgia would win by 2 touchdowns right now if Carson Beck plays the way he's playing.
Yeah.
By the way, I put the link to the calculator Bobby's talking about in the chat. So y'all don't have to search for it. Just click on that and it'll get you right there. And then Jet Rodriguez, thank you for the super chat. He says, do you think that Sark digs too deep into his bag at times when he should just line up and have our guys beat the opponent?
I think you have to get into your bag in this conference because the opponents are very athletic and they're very talented. I mean, even, think about Arkansas for a second. Landon Jackson may be a first-round pick at edge. And they probably have 4-5 guys on their defense that'll be NFL players, draft picks, or be in camps, right? That's like the low end. Vanderbilt probably has the same. That's like the low end of this conference. So you have bigger, more athletic guys up front. You have longer limb guys on the perimeter defensively. And you have bigger guys overall. I mean, it forces you to.
I guarantee you this, to give you a number, I guarantee you this. Mississippi State has more current NFL or future NFL players on their roster than Texas Tech or Baylor right now. That's y'all are going to what? Yeah, Mississippi State has more future NFL players on its roster, and they may be the worst team in the SEC right now than either Texas Tech or Baylor. So I do agree with Jerry. You have to be a little bit more creative. I will say this: I can't think of a game this year where I felt like in the second half Sark went too much to his bag. Maybe in the first half he's gone to his bag too much. In the second half, can y'all name a game? Other than Georgia, perhaps, where you felt like Sark called a bad second half? I really can't. I mean, we can. CJ has a stat about how infrequently Texas has scored on the first possession this year of a game. I would say that Texas in the second half of games has been a much better second half offensive team than first. Not necessarily scoring, but just knowing what works. That game against OU, where the running game just parted, they poked and probed for a quarter.
I got to bring this one up because Stephen Houston, I think, has a great comment. Teams like Georgia and Ole Miss potentially having to play in winter weather in the Big Ten country in the playoffs is a big deal. That would be miserable out there when it's 15 degrees. That's sharp comment. That's going to be an interesting thing about the playoff pairings in the first round is who has the home games and who has to travel where. Because that's a big weather deal in those games, second week in December. Potentially.
I will be this. I wouldn't want to play in State College, PA in mid-December. I wouldn't want to play in Ohio Stadium in mid-December.
No, not if you've never done it.
All right, thanks again, guys. One last comment here from our advertisers, and that is our sponsor, Adam Lowy of the Lowy Law Firm. If you've been injured in a car wreck, truck wreck, automobile accident of any kind, there's only one person to call. That's Adam Lowy over at loweylawfirm.com. He and his firm have 20-plus years of experience helping injured Texans. Again, the great thing about Adam, give him a free call, complete free, no strings attached to it, and it's a consultation. They'll let you know what they think of your situation and whether or not it might be something that you're due compensation. Again, thanks to Adam and his team for making Wednesday's Coffee and Football possible, as well as all of our other sponsors.
All right, guys. Well, we got just a couple more super chats before we get out of here. Trace Little, of course, saying Jerry said we're getting 5 more 5 stars. That's what everybody heard, anyway. I don't know about.
By the way, update on a 5-star. We're hearing Aaliyah Chavez is probably not going to announce a decision today on the last day early signing period.
Yeah,
so
I don't believe that.
Something will be set up. It'd be public right now, unless. We don't think that's going to happen. By the way, on basketball, also, I wrote on TexasFootball.com yesterday. Tremont Mark is progressing nicely. Chance he plays tomorrow. I don't know when Texas will officially announce that. It may be a game time decision. It may be how he looks today. But Tremont Mark he's when that was released. Oh, he's out indefinitely. I think people were starting to hit me up. Is this guy out for the year? I was like, no. So I posted something when that came out, but I also updated yesterday that things are progressing with Tremont Mark, could be back for Syracuse. The question there is they play back-to-back games. So you play back-to-back games on Thursday and Friday. Would you want him to play back-to-backs? Would you hold him for the second? Would you just play him in the first? There's some things at play, but he's progressing to where he's got a chance to play either Thursday or Friday. And by the way, Bob P., I do what I can. Sorry, it wasn't a shot at Cy4 Sports Association. It's just that's where Slow O'Neill's from.
Hey, Jerry, we do need to go back, guys. We need to go back because a lot of people, more than 1,000 people, have joined us in the last hour. So, Jerry, we need to give them an update on recruiting generally. Blake, if you have any supers that deal specifically with recruiting, Jerry, you reported yesterday that Cade Phillips, young man out of Fort Bend, a defensive back that was originally committed to Texas, then committed to LSU, is now visiting Texas this weekend. That was a big move there. He is a top 40 or so player in the country, 5-star by some services. Ran a long jump 24/7. Texas recruiting him as a corner. A lot of people initially liked him as a safety. Texas now saying corner. That's going to be a big one because apparently LSU out of favor with the young man's family at this point for various reasons. Then also, Michael Fasusi still set to visit, offensive lineman out of Louisville, Texas. The one that I was going to ask you about, and we talked also about Myron Charles and Jamie French, Joseph Mbaktu, Jerry, the defensive lineman out of Georgia. Some people put in crystal ball picks, RPM picks or whatever for Mbaktu to Texas yesterday. What do you have as the latest on that one? I know you've been saying Texas quietly leading, but you hadn't necessarily said, okay, Texas is the defined favorite.
Yeah, I want to see if he goes to Tennessee this weekend, but because when the visits are ongoing like that, and they're official visits, he's a senior, true senior riser. He never played football till this year. So everything's come to him really fast in his recruitment. And he's gone to places he's never been before for a college football game, for a visit, anything. So I think Texas is in a pretty good spot. And I put that up a couple of days ago on TexasFootball.com with Florida and Auburn. But I want to see, does he show up at Tennessee? And I think it's been scheduled. Let's see what happens there or where he goes this weekend. But people still have a chance to blow away somebody who's young in the recruiting process. Now, what Texas has going for them is he's been on campus twice, both times with his father. The first time with his father and him, the second time with his whole family. So Texas got him on campus twice. The other thing I watch with this a little bit is with Kevin. I think Kevin Wynn's going to go to South Carolina. And Georgia was trying to get Kevin Wynn. Does Georgia try to make a late move with Mbaktu if Kevin Wynn's going to South Carolina? And now he probably won't announce till December 4th, but the college coaches know this ahead of time. Would they try to make a late move there? If you show up to the Georgia Tech game in a couple of weeks, then, well, maybe we should slow our roll a little bit. So let's see what happens coming up here with him. But I think Kenny Baker's done a good job. Baker has connections on that staff. Kenny Baker's from Georgia. His dad was a coach in Georgia. There's some strong connections. They've got him on campus twice. I think Texas is in a pretty good spot, but let's see if he makes one more visit. Does he make two more visits? I mean, this process is still continuing for him until December 4th. He hasn't gone through this for 2 years like a lot of other kids have. So that's why I'm just taking a little slower on him. But I do think Texas is doing a good job with Mbaktu.
The other one I wanted to mention, Jerry, was Nick Townsend, the tight end out of Decaney. He did visit A&M over the weekend. He is expected to be at Texas versus Kentucky this weekend, and then may go back to A&M for the Texas game in 2 weeks. That's another one that you're monitoring as well. A lot of guys, a lot of balls in the air. Sark's juggling right now. Brandon Harris juggling.
Yeah.
We'll see how it all turns out.
Look, this whole recruiting calendar is wild. It's a think about having signing. Think about. So after this weekend, Texas hosts some visitors. This was a big visitors, right? Then you got to get prepped for signing day on December 4th. While getting prepped for the first time A&M and Texas have played in 12 years. If you both win this weekend, it's literally a winner-take-all game, meaning the winner of that game is going to the SEC championship game and assured of being in a college football playoff. And then you have signing day coming up on the 4th, and you might be prepping for an SEC championship game. The recruiting the calendar in college football is totally whack and messed up. They need to fix this, in my opinion.
I agree they need to fix it. The question is how. Nobody's come up with a really good way to do that. I just want to say this. I don't know how it's going to end, but as I wrote today on Texas football, I'd bet on Sark to get it done. He's proven it the last 3 years to me, Jerry. Really good recruiter.
They got a good plan.
Really good. He got a little bit of a feel for it. Some people have a feel for this stuff that comes to them fairly. I don't know how it works necessarily, but he's got a feel for it.
Yeah.
Hey, real quick, CJ I think he's posting it on TexasFootball.com right now, but he just sent us a text saying that Loganville, Georgia 2026 linebacker Anthony Davis will be on campus this weekend as well.
Kid did, I saw him when I was through there earlier in the season, about 6'1", maybe 6'1.5", about 205, 210. A guy at Texas, Tashard Choice, has been recruiting for a while. They have Tyler Atkinson, the 2026 5-star linebacker who's on campus for Georgia. Anthony Davis Jr., the other linebacker on that team that has a 15, 20 Power 4 offers. A guy that Texas really likes. He's scheduled to be in this weekend per CJ, which won the top 2026 kid out of state of Georgia.
There you go, right there. All right, guys, we got a couple of more super chats before we get out of here. This one I already put up, but I am going to read it. Thank you, Jeff. My takeaway is that Bobby loves Tennessee and Jerry's a huge Miami fan. I'd say your takeaway.
I'm a huge South Beach fan.
Look, I think Tennessee is a pretender. That's what I think. So,
yeah, definitely,
they won a lot like Oklahoma last year when Oklahoma beat Texas. Okay, it was a rivalry game. They beat Alabama in a rivalry game. Otherwise, they're a pretender. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I'm a big Lincoln Road and South Beach fan. And I do that 10 out of 10 times before I go to sit with 20,000 people at a Canes game.
And then Jackson F says, don't forget, everyone gets a week off between the conference championship and the first round. And thank you, by the way, Jackson. We appreciate that. So that is true. Everyone does indeed. And then Christian Kruger said, and thank you, Christian. He says 2-1 versus OU, the game at Alabama, the game at Michigan, Big 12 champs, which took forever to do. Likely the third best quarterback in Texas history. Respect. Of course, he's talking about Quinn Ewers.
I agree. I don't know about likely third best QB in Texas history because I think we grade QBs differently. Like, I mean, it would be sacrilege, for example, to rank to some people I know to rank Quinn Ewers over James Street. Guy won national championship, went undefeated as a quarterback. Okay, so a Texas fan of that age, you'd have a hard time telling them Colt McCoy was better than James Street. Okay, because he was perfect. And so then you have guys that, you know, the decade of Bobby Lane or the time of Bobby Lane going all the way back. He's in the Pro Football Hall of Fame. So I hear what you're saying. In recent history, last 25 years, I think I agree with you, no doubt. He's ahead of, in my opinion, he's ahead of Sam Ehlinger in that regard. Just more successful overall than Sam, even though I think Sam may be, of all players, have the heartbeat of the fan base and understand it more than any of them. So that's my take on that.
Bobby, normally I ask you what you have later today, but instead I want you to tell everybody National Signing Day is around the corner. We got daily threads over on ontexasfootball.com. But when it comes to National Signing Day itself, what do you have planned for coverage?
Well, it's going to be a little Christmas morning in your house, Blake, for sure. We've got, just so you know, 2 weeks from today is National Signing Day. Here at On Texas Football, we're going to be on just about all day long covering everything starting, I believe, at around 6:45 or 7 on Wednesday morning, because that's when the letters can come in and they can be officially announced as signees. So we're going to be on from literally morning until afternoon all day long. Please stop by and join us and realize that you can rely on us to be there for you. We're going to have an extended version of Coffee and Football, likely around 4 hours long. So you can dip in and dip out. We'll go over and show all the film of players. Then also we'll have some recaps in the afternoon. Steve Sarkisian will likely address the media in the afternoon. We'll have pieces of that for you guys as well. So look, Texas right now, 2 weeks out, looks like they're in tremendous position to close out this recruiting class with a bang. Jerry wrote an article this morning about the possibility even of a number 1 ranked class if everything falls into place.
Okay, guys. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Coffee and Football, presented by Adam Lowy and the Lowy Law Firm. We want to thank Adam, along with D&G Construction, Public Rec, and Manscaped, all for sponsoring today's show. Thank you all for tuning in. Great questions, the super chats. Be sure to head on over to ontexasfootball.com to continue that discussion. If you're not a member, you can become one easily. Just use promo code OTFOG. You'll get a full year for $39.95. You can't beat that deal. Again, promo code OTFOG at ontexasfootball.com. And we recently went over 64,000 subscribers. That blows my mind. If you haven't already, we would love for you to hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate your support. Ring the bell so you're notified anytime that we go live, post content. And with the National Signing Day around the corner, you don't want to miss anything. Jerry, CJ bringing recruiting updates nonstop. So there's no better time to become a subscriber to both the website and the YouTube channel. Well, we will be back same time, same place tomorrow. So for Bobby Burton and Jerry Hamilton, I'm Blake Monroe, and we'll